Welcome everyone, this is the 31 Days of Dread, and I am your host, Peter A. DeLuca, aka PAD, and this is where we do one horror movie a day for the entire month of October. That's 30, if you can't count, that's 31 movies celebrating the greatest genre of them all, the greatest experimentational platform of them all, the greatest young filmmaker discoverer of them all. It is horror, 31 days coming at you. Look out, ghouls and ghosts, it gets spooky. Alright everyone, coming out of that intro hot, this is what I call the telethon portion of the podcast. This is where I pitch myself to you for your support. Your support means everything to me because we're fighting, the AKAPAD army is fighting against algorithms everywhere. Algorithms, I ate some cereal earlier today, I dumped it into my bowl and it was full of algorithms. Okay, bad joke. Alright. Sharing this podcast, telling your friends about it, leaving comments, leaving reviews. This is how we grow AKAPAD's audio audacity. Your support there is more valuable than anything other than like a high five in person, because I'd love a high five in person. AKAPADers, welcome to another 31 Day of Dread. This is day 20 and day 22. We're a little bit behind. Big day yesterday. I'm battling time to do a quick Dune thing because I feel like I need a gut reaction to Dune because Dune is very close to me, and goddamn, I love all 6 of those Frank Herbert books. But for right now, we're talking about another author. Clive Barker. We're talking Clive Barker. This year for Inktober, if you're not familiar with Inktober, it's like my annual sketch event where, it's the same as the 31 Days of Dread, but you have sketching prompts and you fill up a sketchbook and you have 31 drawings, 31 prompts. And every year I put a theme onto my sketchbook. One year it was a Joker. One year it was villains, like all that stuff. This year, it's a Clive Barker themed sketchbook. So I just been channeling and studying and relearning a lot about Clive Barker and the life of Clive Barker. It's horrible that he's been through some medical issues, and I really wasn't familiar with them. I didn't get too familiar with it because I just don't like that stuff. I'd rather always focus on the positive. So re-exploring Clive Barker brought me back to when I was younger, and to me, Clive Barker was this wonder kid. He did everything. He wrote, he directed. I remember seeing footage of all the storyboards that he made for Healraiser. Wrote these amazing books, did artwork, wrote plays. Built his name up as a playwright, and then got into the Books of Blood, which is a short story anthology. They were called the Books of Blood. Rawhead Rex, that has carried on from the Books of Blood, is from that one of those 3 books. And it's very it's unlikely. I mean, think about that today. He brought up his name through writing plays. He wrote a lot of plays, a dozen. Okay. And then he goes into short stories, and we just don't see paths like that anymore. His path is so unique. And then along the way, we hear stories about him being involved with prostitution. We hear stories about him dating older women. And this is all by from his own mouth. And then he discovers that he is gay, and boom, rocking and rolling. Who cares? But that's a part of his story, and his creations, especially Healraiser. The language used in Healraiser really solidifies what you would want to believe his mindset to be. This exploration of pleasure, this questioning of pleasure, this questioning of pain. All of these concepts run through all of Healraiser. Healraiser is, in my opinion, the Cenobites are the greatest monster creation, where they come from, and basically the hook and the point of the Cenobites, especially in Hellraiser 1 and 2, or Hellraiser, Hellbound, Hellraiser 2, released roughly a year apart. And because it taps into something. They're scary, they're unknown, and they're just visually, they unnerve you, and that's the point. Now, we have Nightmare on Elm Street coming up, and Nightmare on Elm Street has like the single best horror situation, meaning Freddy can go into your dreams and you can't fall asleep. There's nothing scarier than not being able to fall asleep. And I'm happy for like this year's 31 Days of Dread. I have these two concepts dueling, so to speak, because we're doing Hellraiser 1 and 2. Today should be Jennifer's Body. And then we're right into Nightmare on Elm Street, which is like holla, phenomenal. And then we're going to be wrapping it up with a Netflix run. But no, the Hellraiser, going through the Wikipedia, Hellraiser was like somewhat bashed by Roger Ebert. There's a little quote there that just says something about like maybe like low-hanging fruit horror, like just something BS-y like that. And you watch this movie, and in my opinion, the only flaw of Hellraiser is the final act. And that's only because everything that happens going into the resolution, it's too broad, abstract, perfectly executed, and loose. But to wrap something up, we need something definitive. We need to be able to follow the hero's plight, or fight, okay? Like, both of them. And with Hellraiser, it's running girl syndrome. Boyfriend shows up at the end. Like, her boyfriend disappeared for a whole chunk of the movie. Shows up at the end, and then, like, he's just in this house where it's nonstop wild shit happening. But we do get a little deeper into the lore, the ideas around the Cenobites, around Pinhead and friends, when our protagonist, our girl, she makes like some of a pact with Pinhead to get this dude Frank back. Frank, within the backstory, bangs a girl. It's his brother's wife. He goes on this journey. The ideas and the way how they speak about Frank is artfully placed throughout the entire movie. Visually, what we see, what Barker shows us, is artful. Because Frank is a person that's, he's so much like Neo in The Matrix. He's seeking a higher purpose. And he's on this like thread. He's being pulled in these directions, and he's letting this tugging happen. And along the way, he unlocks this box, this like puzzle box, which is, again, awesome stuff with Hellraiser. But he unlocks the puzzle box, goes into the world of the Cenobites, and then escapes. And that's the beginning of our story. And so essentially, the way how this movie unfolds, when it comes from like, scene to scene, act to act, we're luring people in so Frank can kill them, absorb their like essence, grow his body back, and then bang this girl that he was banging before, because apparently the banging was that good. I can relate. I feel like I'm a Frank myself. But no. And like that's the hook of Hellraiser. See, Hellraiser isn't about the demons. It's not about these creatures. It's not about Pinhead. It's about everything else. And it's amazing that this movie wasn't like really put on a pedestal. I also feel like, again, this movie would not be made today, making it a little bit more special, a little bit more significant. But I don't know, people. I can't recommend Hellraiser enough. I cannot. Hellraiser 1, Hellraiser 2. Now, a lot of people put Hellraiser Hell on Earth, the third one, in like the same category. It's basically its own trilogy. I can't speak for Hellraiser 3. Maybe by the time I talk to you about Hellraiser 2, I would have seen some of Hellraiser 3. I've seen the movie. I just haven't seen it like early enough or soon enough to recording, because you forget things. And I remember the woman, the girl in that is like really pretty. That's about it. But no, but we have like the birth of a new type of horror, a new idea, a type of horror that wasn't well duplicated, that wasn't didn't carry on, that is somewhat of a creature of the 90s. But I feel like Hellraiser also died in the 90s outside of its life on VHS or direct to video, because we have, look, listen to these Hellraiser movies: Hellraiser, Hellbound, Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth, Hellraiser Bloodline, Hellraiser Inferno, Hellraiser Hellseeker, Hellraiser Deader, Hellraiser Hellworld, Hellraiser Revelations, Hellraiser Judgment. And I know one of those is in space. But again, it went down this path of like Chucky and Leprechaun, which are really, look, the 80s, it was Freddy and Jason, and then we had like the Michael Myers spinning off. But then through the 90s and 2000, it's Hellraiser and Leprechaun. And I love it. So again, like, the more sequels we get, the schlockier it's going to be, the less of the performances. But is like, challenge me right now and tell me that there's not going to be nuance and veins that are great in all those movies I just named, because Hellraiser is that good of an idea, and there's so many different ways you can go into it from the first movie. So here we go, everyone. 31 Days of Dread. We are talking Hellbound, Hellraiser 2 next. Be on the lookout for Dune, and be on the lookout for a couple other things. We still have Black Widow coming, and then we got a couple more digital drops. So look, we're grinding, we're working hard. I love you. Until next time. And to continue this telethon, where we're not talking about high fives, there's other ways to support me. I'm a living professional. I'm a full-time freelancer. Anything you see on this, like here on this podcast, or see in my social media, I make everything. It's all made by me. That's a part of my pitch to you. And you can purchase professional services through AKAPAD.com. That's a pipeline to me if you want to send me a message. But also, while you're there, you can sign up for my newsletter. You're going to get deals. You're going to get coupons. You're going to get 2 free trading cards mailed to you free worldwide. And they're 2 Wolfpack trading cards, 2 original characters, you know, for upcoming comic book work. And speaking of comic books, you can go to Etsy, type in Uzi Susie, and that's where you're going to find my mini comic. You can purchase existing issues and pre-order upcoming issues along with bundles if you missed any, like issue 1, 2, or 3 or whatever. There, Uzi Susie is waiting for you. And keep an eye on Indiegogo. A lot of my bigger comic book projects will be available through Indiegogo. All of those updates will be here on this podcast, so if you're a regular listener, I'll let you know. We can rock and roll from there. So everyone, thank you so much, and feel free to reach out to me on social media, AKAPad69, Instagram, and Xbox. That's right, you can play Halo with me. Just straight up AKAPad on Twitter, straight up AKAPad on the Facebook. My business page is there. My personal page is there. Hey, be a personal friend of mine. I don't care. Let's talk movies. Let's talk creativity. Let's talk fun, and just, who cares? Do you like, the Transformer movies? I love them. We can talk about that all night. So meet me there, and we'll rock and roll. Let's get talking. We got a movie to discuss.